How are you, Z?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm really excited about this conversation we're going to have for
Mm-hmm.
multiple reasons.
Me too.
Um, Besides the fact that I don't have a lot too much communication with people in production side, which is very important. Part of whether we're in advertising, marketing, this is the backbone of the industry in many ways, and we'll soon find out how much of that loyalty has kept your
Yeah.
efforts within that industry. But yeah, we'll get to that. So, okay, without further ado, guys, this is Shinta Indrasari. She's the executive producer and founder of Liberta Films.
Mm-hmm.
Liberta Films is based in Jakarta. They have been around for a while now. And my relationship with Shinta started through some mutual people, including her partner, who is in advertising, and also the fact that Shinta has got a lot of experience in doing commercial work, certainly when we first met back in 2018, 19, I suppose. We will be talking about production, of course. We'll be talking about Indonesia in some respect. We'll be talking about
Mm-hmm.
how the industry has been affected through many things, including the global stuff that's happening. We might tackle a little bit of AI things. And because production people certainly and I think I recall your background did include advertising at one point a long time ago. You understand
Yes,
the
it did.
value of creativity as well, and so let's
Yes.
talk about that as it relates to the importance of where creativity is today, certainly in Jakarta and then maybe beyond. Okay,
Okay.
so like
Okay.
I said, so I haven't been back. So the very first question, this is I haven't been back since the pandemic. The last 3 4 years has been, I'm sure I've heard a lot about the challenges that's been happening, not necessarily just in Jakarta, but let's talk about Jakarta. What has the last 3 4 years looked like in maybe in relation to what's happening beyond your shores, beyond Indonesia, but certainly what's happening
Mm-hmm.
in the country itself and how it's affecting production?
Okay. The last 3 or 4 years. Well, okay. Let's just take it since the pandemic. Since the pandemic, something really changed. During the pandemic, we see a lot of surge in talent. Actually, a lot of new talent, a lot of new directors coming from local background, local knowledge, are coming out. But as well as all of those their peers, like maybe they were in college like 5 years ago before that, and then in 2020 suddenly a lot of us within the industries are offered these new fantastic directors, younger directors with really good eyes, really good talent, with a fraction of the price of their senior ones, which is really exciting at the moment. I mean, at that time, it was like, oh, okay, there's a boom of new talent that we're seeing. But with them also comes along with other new talents and other people who are emerging to the business as well. So we see a lot of new producers, we see a lot of new DOPs and everything. And of course, with that, it also comes with the new great talents. Also comes uh, a wave of a lot of younger people coming into the business. So since what we are seeing in 2020 and 2021, actually, it's okay. It's good for the business. I mean, we are so open for new talents and working with a lot of younger people, and of course giving our knowledge about the industry and everything like that. But as we go along towards 2023, 2024, what we are seeing is maybe from the end of 2022, what we are seeing is the business itself within the commercial production filmmaking. There is a downturn in terms of jobs, in terms of production, in terms of commercial production. Um, it's not as much as it was before. For me, it started in 2023. The demand is not as much as it was before,
So
and
before you
and it.
continue, just before you continue, so are you saying then, just to be clear, because I don't know if I understood clearly, you're saying the pandemic didn't necessarily slow things down. In fact, you saw a surge in talent in 2020. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so
Yes, it's slow.
sorry,
Yeah, I'm
the
sorry.
impact of the slowing down of production in Jakarta came much later. You're talking now. You're into
Yes,
2023. Okay, okay, I'm with you. Please
yes,
continue.
yes,
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah. Because the demand was still there, but we just couldn't shoot because it's a rule by the government. But then in 2021 we could do shoots. So I was thinking that maybe in 2022 a lot of clients are holding back their money because they couldn't shoot physically. They could not because of the governance and the way things were. But then in 2021 we all started to find a way how we could shoot with the COVID, the regimens and all the necessary things that you need to put in through, because it's part of the economy that still needs to roll. uh, Brands still need to put an ad there too, so people will be remember about their brands. So the demands are still there, and we find a way how we could shoot safely and everything with the all the COVID preparations. So actually, 2020, even though we're slowing down, but 2021 was a good year, and 2022 was also a good year because their marketing budget, logically, they didn't use it in 2020, they use it in 2021. And in 2022, there's still maybe some leftover, and the market is still good enough for people to, for the brands to actually produce some more ads. So 2022 is still pretty good. But then in 2023, we saw a downturn in a lot of stuff, and not just for national products. Mainly, it comes from international products or international clients that, like, it wasn't as much as 2022. So we're seeing the shift a little bit in 2023. We realize, okay, there's something going on. Maybe it's because of COVID now. Now they're seeing things that, oh, okay, maybe they put their money somewhere else. Because in what we know is in 2023, activation was really a big thing, because 2 years they couldn't go to concerts, 2 years they couldn't do anything. And then after 2023, and they started to relax all of the travel arrangement and everything, they started making concerts again, they started making activations again, and we see a lot of boom in events.
Right, and just to be clear, and also maybe if people don't know Liberta films, when you're talking about the activation being activated, it's not so much. You're talking about not things that you do anyway, right? You're not doing activation things.
Yeah, that's not what we
Right, right,
do.
right.
Yeah,
But
that's
just to
not what we
clarify,
do.
because
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying is the commercial work, and I'm assuming you mean TV slash digital media video
Yes.
content.
Hmm.
And then when you talk about activation, you mean where now that there is the a freedom to go back out and do activation, that is also impacting the work that you guys are getting
The
overtime.
business, the
All right,
work.
sorry, please
Yes,
go on. Yeah,
yes,
just want to clarify.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do realize that as a business owner, and all my friends who are in the production industry also realize that, okay, maybe the client shifted their budget for 2023, because activation is now booming again, because people can go see a concert, or people can go see a show, or whatever it is that they do for the activation. And so we're like, okay, let's see if it changes back again to normal in 2024. And then in 2024, apparently it does not. At first it was okay, but then it started going, why is those big big clients are not really shooting anything for the, like, for here in Indonesia is really big for the um, national day 17 Agustusan. We don't really see, like, we see a lot of cigarette brands actually pitching for a really big project for 17th of August, Independence Day. Now we're like, how come I don't hear about that, or not as much? Or I did get a pitch for the 17th of August, Independence Day, and then they decided to move back the production, and move it back until the next years, until I totally forgot about it. I don't know whether they actually decided to do it or not. But then, like, things like that. It's just like, first of all, it's just one client, and then something like that becomes two or three, and then we're like, what's going on? We see a lot of projects being pushed back, or maybe along the way they decided that maybe, okay, they want to go another way, either making it a really just really small, like not a TV ad, but like a content a content thing, that they decided to go with influencers maybe, or KOLs, instead of doing productions. And yeah, those sort of things add up. So 2023, 2024, and 2025 is not as good,
Okay,
as
that's a
as
nice.
the previous year.
Thanks. So that is exactly what it looks like I've missed in Jakarta for the last 4 years.
Mm.
So that's a nice outlay of what's been happening, and of course, not necessarily for the same reasons. I mean, you mentioned there are indicators like Independence Day is usually when there's a lot of money being spent. Not everywhere is for the same
Mm.
reasons, but things are happening all around the same time. It's all coming to that same inflection point. What do you? So now you've questioned it. We go, okay, that's strange. At first, I could justify it because they are trying to do activation now, so they're making up for lost time, or there are multiple reasons. Are you
Mhm.
seeing the correlation between the work flow in production changing uh, for other reasons? Are there bigger reasons at play here? Is it an economy thing? Is it just to do with what's happening everywhere, or it's just luck,
Oh,
or is it post pandemic? It
um,
sounds like you're saying it's not post pandemic. So then, what is it that you and your peers in production, where you see this is coming from, and where do you see it going?
okay. Uh, well, I think it's a lot of things. Economic factor goes into the whole thing as well, because the thing is that the people are actually the economy. It just takes a hold of all of us, and it's just not Indonesia. And I'm hearing these stories from friends in KL, from friends in Singapore, from friends in Europe as well, and of course friends in Thailand. Or Thailand is the hub for regionals. Like they usually get like quite a lot of budget to do a few markets, and they do see a downturn in budget as well. So obviously, it's not happening nationally. It's happened towards globally. I mean, it happening all globally, because I think post pandemic, what we're seeing is overall in terms of economy, everybody not really doing really good. Everybody is going to a downturn at the moment, even though it's slowly, but we can see it. We can see it, and we can feel it happening. Um, Budget is getting tighter, and even for projects that I used to do, like regional projects for a few different markets and everything, what used to be a set number of budget, we see it maybe 10-20% cheaper, or even maybe more. At some point it could be like 35% less. So we know there's something going on, like, because of the budget that we're seeing. So first of all, it's the economy. Geopolitical situation although also does have an effect, because I think in 2022, I guess, yeah, the war in Ukraine started, and I thought it wouldn't affect us, but somehow it did affect the budget as well. Because I was doing a campaign in 2022 for two or three markets for APAC, but like a fraction, like a large chunk of the fraction of the budget comes from HQ. And the agency told me, yeah, they have to lower the budget because of the war. I don't know how it involved that, but certainly it does. And then because of that, so what we are seeing now is, of course, there is also another form of media, another form of advertising that comes in as play as well. TikTok is using a very good, mm, like, setup system for brands now. If you don't have a lot of budget, you can package your thing, and they would give you like all the data, with the reach and everything, and of course with extra videos and everything that they will package you.
Sure, and
So
Indonesia
it's
being a young population with a high penetration in mobile TikTok usage,
yeah,
that obviously does make a
yeah,
difference. Budgets will
yes,
naturally, if the means are there, brands are willing to try new things, and TikTok seems to be where a lot of these consumers are anyway. Right? Sorry, continue.
yes,
Just to
yes,
fill in
that's
the
true.
gap for people who are not familiar with the Indonesian market.
Yes, that's true. And they give you something in return that we, as a production company, couldn't. They give you the data, they gave you the reach and everything. So that is, if I'm a client, that would be seemingly like, okay, perfect. I could see whether what we did is actually penetrating the right market or not. So that is also become, a contender for us within the production industry. So a lot of factors going on within why uh, the business is as it is as at the moment, and uh, goes back again to my first thing that I said in front, that with the new talents comes with a new group of people who are within maybe 4 3 3 4 5 years they've learned, and they started to gain traction and gain independence, and they started to want to do their own companies. So we have really new, like, fresh blood within the industries that are opening up their shops.
So
So that is
is this
also
becoming a
comes into a
conversation?
factor.
Is this becoming a conversation about the Gen Z who are more independent? Is that what we're talking about? Because you mentioned these are kids. Well, these are the youngest people who came into the frame around 2020, right? That's what you were saying. And these are
Yeah,
the ones who are
yeah,
now
yeah.
setting up these companies. So
Hmm.
it's probably I guess it's comfortable to say we are talking about the Gen Z, uh, the Gen Z film people. Is it Gen Z, or is it older? Is it
Yeah, they're older Gen Z, I guess. They're older Gen Z and younger millennials
okay? All right.
that are coming in.
Wait, don't you mean the
Yeah.
other way around? You mean older millennials and no, no, you're right. You're right. Younger millennials and older Gen Z. Right, right.
Yeah.
Sure, 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 sure. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Yeah, you're saying
Yeah.
so now so they've started instead of staying.
This started, yeah.
So is this then? Are you saying instead of um, continuing through the pipeline of usual like Liberta, you're saying you're finding more and more this group of people are setting up their own shops. That's what this is about, right?
Yeah. I don't mind that at all, because it used to be we have our own tier of markets, you know like, okay, for big players we have this and this production companies that are willing to cater to them, of course with a set range of prices. And then for the B market you have this and this and this, and the C, and you have this and this and this and this, the C market. But then the thing is, those tiers doesn't work anymore when there is no demands, and everybody have less budget now. So the pie is getting smaller. The market is oversaturated because even the big guns are now playing it with in the lower tier markets, because it's just a matter of fact is, at this point in time there aren't much project as it used to be
Right.
at this point
So
in
so
time.
so
Yeah.
this is not a problem in the evolution of production and birth of new production company. It's the fact that since the pie is smaller, that natural addition to the industry is causing even more strain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. It's the oversaturation and the minimal, market minimal demand coming from the companies, from the
And so
clients.
you're
So
saying you're seeing this impact in just 5 years since
yes.
the confluence of all these other things happening now with the rise of the next generation of production companies, which was never a problem before, but now it's not so much it's a problem, but it's there's too many people trying to get to the same piece, right?
Yes. Yes. So what we're seeing now is very much like a price war. I mean, price war in a sense that, okay, the budget is this much. We didn't usually shoot with that kind of budget for a day shoot, but then they only got this much, and it's whether or not you're willing to do it,
Mm.
or whether or not if the mathematics you can, somehow uh, arrange the numbers in a way that it still can work for you. Yeah, sure. You want to do it? Yeah, you can. But if not, I mean, we're seeing budget that is down about 35% to 50% from what it was like 2 years ago. So it is something that we're like, wow, this is something else. This is something else entirely.
So,
It wasn't like that.
sorry, finish what you're saying. Yeah, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, it wasn't like that before. I mean, like, the price war that I meant was when we're pitching, of course, we're offering the best price with what we have, with the other company that we're pitching against. But usually, like, we're only playing about 10 to 15% of the budget given, whether we could actually, reduce it, or depending on whatever the brief is, maybe we could talk with it with the client, or usually we play around the 15% maximum, you know uh, uh
The buffer.
number
There was a
of,
buffer.
yeah,
Yeah.
buffer,
Right. Gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Look, we're obviously going to come back to Indonesia. I wanted to expand a little bit. I mean, you mentioned already because you've got friends. You mentioned you mentioned Malaysia. I don't know if you mentioned KL, but I'm assuming KL. You mentioned Thailand, obviously, Singapore, places like that. You and I did talk before we got onto this, and we were discussing a little bit about how things are going with you and the production company. And you mentioned something which is very interesting because
Hmm.
I have no idea. And it's you mentioned if I remember correctly, you said something to the effect of we're all getting affected out here, but for some reason places like Australia, New Zealand, they're doing better. And I don't understand what you mean by that. Could you explain what you mean? What is the context of why do you feel that what is the impression you're getting
Oh,
that says that maybe they are not doing
as bad as we
as
do.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Since I'm looking at I'm looking at really good ads lately by people from outside of the country, and the one that really struck me is just that's still true to what it was, or what it was back then, about 10, 15, 20 years ago, is Australia. I saw, as the last time I saw this, it was a really long ad, I think about 90 seconds or maybe even 2 minutes. uh, it's an ad about, I forgot, but it was a really long ad. And actually, the ad itself, the setup and everything, it doesn't really convey anything about the brand or the product until the last moment of the ad, which is something that is different. It is something that I know we used to do.
You're talking
We saw a lot of that,
you're talking
but
about ads
then,
are not
but
that are
then,
not so hard sell, like something that would had a bit of theater and
yeah.
an idea. Okay, I get you. Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It has a lot of comedy. It has a lot
Hmm.
of, insight that they put it into the spot, which I think is really cool. And I haven't seen a lot of that.
Why do you feel? Because again, you mentioned this Australia, and we'll stick to that being the topic here. Why do you think that is? Why do you think in a production from the production side or beyond? Why do you think stuff like
Hmm.
that seems to be more readily available in Australia than where you are, where we are, where Thailand, Singapore, all the rest?
Okay. I never worked with an Australian ad agency before, but I would just assume on this thing on Australia. But I would guess it has a lot to do with the culture and the way they are. It's just different culture here and in within Indonesia and Australia. I mean, Australia is one of the few countries that I know that are still, you know, you go home, you relax, you don't really talk about work. There's not a lot of hustle. Everything here, like, hustle culture is like, if you're hustling, you're really good. Yeah, like that. There's a big hustle culture here in Indonesia, but of course, with that comes with the, with the need of work and life balance. And in Australia is one of the few countries that I know that they really respect, well, work and life balance. And I guess it would have to do with the way they are and the way they trusted, uh, with the client, the way the client trusted the experts or the ads people. I mean, the idea is just run loose. And here in Indonesia, you can do that if you have a lot, really good rapport with your client after a few years. But there are things that are still very much up to the client's control that we have to, of course, abide to and make them realize that we have this thing.
I, I, I,
We have to,
yeah, no,
we have to make, yeah.
sorry, we're having a
Sorry.
lag here. No, no. Apologies again. All I was saying is I agree with you about you said the right thing there, which is the work life balance. Having known a little bit of the Australian market and the New Zealand market, you're right. You're right about after work you switch off, and switch off is kind of the important thing here because um, it's one of those markets where when you said switched off, the first thing that went through my head is, oh, they're not on their phones, and I think
Yes.
that's the thing we're not or we're not pointing at here is a little bit that a lot of content or where people are spending time are on that as opposed to
Hmm.
maybe socializing more in a place like Australia. Yeah, and they do it in Europe and other places as well. But you're right, in Australia, like you work hard, you play hard. Well, you work hard, you socialize, you meet people, you have dinner, you go home, you still sit in front of the TV to watch the rugby, and their ads going to be playing, and so that culture is
Mm.
still different as opposed to. I mean, I don't even own a TV anymore. I think I mentioned to recently, like I don't watch
Yes.
TV. There is no need for it, except for sports. And nowadays I
Yes.
end up watching sports on a second screen on my monitor because everything is through an app anyway. But in
Yeah. Yeah.
Australia, you still switch on your Fox Sports or whatever that channel they have there is for the rugby and all the rest of it. So there's going to be ads. TV is still a big part of it. And in
Yeah.
Indonesia, I found I don't again because I don't really watch a lot of TV, but I found mostly the advertising is FMCG, you know, retail kind of things. There are no big brands are not there anymore, and you were talking about this with the influencers and stuff. And we will talk a little bit more about that. But one thing I was hoping that we were going to get into, and it was a story you mentioned about when I asked you, Shinta, why do you think the culture production is still doing better there? You mentioned a story about a friend of yours and about governance, about payments and things.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yes. Okay. Production side. I have a friend who actually moved to New Zealand. She moved to Auckland with her family, and she was in a high position level, a C level person in the local agency here in Jakarta. Actually, it's not local. It's a multinational agency here in Jakarta, and she moved with her husband and her two kids to Auckland, and then
So
she studied, and
agency,
then
not
she
production.
find work.
This is agency, not production.
Agency.
Right. Okay.
This is agency. Well, I have two friends actually. Okay,
That's
I'll
fine.
talk about the other one later. The first one, she works in an agency in Auckland, and then she did tell me that here in Auckland, after you finish production, the client will chase you for the invoice from the vendors, because if the client didn't pay the vendors within 2 weeks, then they will be fined by the government. And New Zealand is one of the countries that has a late payment directive. They will fine a client who is not paying the vendors on time. So they just use 2 weeks for the money to move around within the ecosystem of the economy, which is, I think, is really good. I mean, I was talking to her like, okay, I'm in the wrong country here. Because it's so different here in Jakarta. I mean, like, in Indonesia, we have we are a country without late payment directive from the government. So we see officially the term of payment, the TOP, is supposed to be invoicing H minus 30 days, H minus 60 days, H minus 90 days. But the reality is we see H minus 120 days, 210 days, and so on and so forth. It goes up even with one of the companies owned by the government. It could go up to maximum of 9 months.
Wow.
And we don't have down payment. We are financing the production first. So all the financing we have to put in upfront, and we only get our payment
Is that
on
normal?
average 4 to 5 months.
Is that normal not to have
It
a
it's
percentage of payment upfront before the shoot happens? Is that
it has been normal. It has been normal in Indonesia since 2005, I guess.
so you're saying since the early 2000s, production companies in Indonesia, once they win a project, they have to go in and do all the capital upfront on their own,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
then whatever the term of payment is, and it seems to be getting later and later. And I'm sure some of the reasons are connected to how the situation
Yeah.
is. That must be quite tough. That must be quite challenging.
It is quite challenging. And if you don't have enough, if you cannot move your money enough or overturn, look at your books and everything, if your payment is not being paid on time, then you will need to have a question of whether I can finance this next project or not, or should I join in the next pitch or not, since I don't have money coming in yet. So that is the business that we're in, that I am in, that all my friends who are EPs are in. And we have to look at our finances before we go into a project, if that said project has, it's a big project and we need to finance a lot of our money inside in within that project.
See, one of the things that we have been noticing in advertising, noticing or rather being witness to, is big holding companies. Like with the big name on the doors, they've been consolidating. Right? You see, big
Hmm.
agencies are they're no longer two big agencies; they become one medium agency, and all
Yeah,
up effort for cost cutting and things like that. And that's how the advertising agency has been dealing with that. And on from the production side, you're saying that since the early 2000s, we're not getting paid upfront or even a percentage upfront. We have to put everything in ourselves. Is that strain causing? I don't want to talk about necessarily shutting down of production companies, but please do if you wish to. Do you find there's more production companies joining force, things like that? How are you guys dealing with that? I mean, because on one hand, you've always had this issue, but on the other hand, you now have rates that are 30 up to 35% lower, and there's less jobs going around. It's not sustainable.
yeah.
What are you guys doing? How are you
it
dealing with that?
it wasn't when I first started with Liberta films, it wasn't as a big of a problem because there wasn't as much of us. So the market production budget is still within the okay amount that we can work with.
So much of us
And
meaning competition in production. Is that what you mean by?
so much of us, yeah,
Got it. Okay. Got it.
like people who own production companies, like all of us within the ecosystem of the industry. It was it was it wasn't like as bad as it was. It wasn't as bad as it is because there wasn't as much as of us. There were about 30 to 40
Okay.
production companies
But so
that
then
handles.
fast forward to now. So now what's happening? So now there's more. There's
So now
less.
there's
Yeah.
about no, there's more. There's double that. Maybe there's even 80 to 100 of us
Right. And the money is less. Da da da. So
doing
then,
this, and the money is less, and the pie is getting
so
smaller.
what are you guys doing?
So of course, a lot of us are struggling. So a lot of us are actually doing something else, or even I see a lot of our friends are actually trying into media, or maybe trying to do something else, or maybe even trying to actually put in a hybrid system. So they have creative, they can do agency work as well. Uh, they have people who are digital savvy, so they could do media like podcasts and everything. And they also, some of them, if their finances are healthy, they could do activation. So there are people who are actually thinking of that and just merging the business into one.
So
So
when you
uh,
say some people have their own creatives, do you mean to say that? So let's say Liberta Film would have someone on staff who you can use to pitch to clients directly to replace an ad agency. Is that what you mean by that?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
right.
because some of the clients are now, uh, I think a lot of the clients now are pitching on project basis, not on
Yes,
uh, yearly
correct.
basis, right? So
For a long
they
time now.
don't
For a
really
long time
need,
now. Yeah.
yeah, for a long time now. So they don't really need a whole, big agency to do that. They just need them to do this one project, like one TVC or one digital ad. So what they would do is just go to a production house and ask them to come up with a story or a spot and present it to them. If they're okay with that, so you are charged for the creative fee and the production fee.
So you're doing, you and others are obviously diversifying as much as you can just to keep things afloat during this difficult time. I'm assuming, especially since the second name of your company is the word films, you must not only be looking at commercial work, you must be looking at original content. Um,
Yes.
has that been an impact in some way, or not, no, as in when the commercial work is struggling, have you found you're leaning more towards things like that, or what is it that you guys are doing? Because at the end of the day,
Yes.
you are a storytelling company who captures it on film of some sort, and the ultimate expression of that isn't commercials. Commercials are actually the subset of actual film and storytelling. How much of that is part of what you guys are doing nowadays?
Yeah, now we are actually concentrating more on that than the commercial work, because looking at the way things are now with commercial, uh, ever since COVID, actually, we started getting into projects like documentaries and like content and media. And earlier this year, we started off thinking about and started off taping podcasts about films and education and stuff like that. So we are actually moving into that avenue at the moment, because this is something that I also feel that, you know, commercial work is something that you're paid to do, but then like podcast education, even documentaries and stories is something that what you want to say to the world. So that is something that I'm really interested in doing. So we are moving into that avenue more than the commercial production work. So if you're asking about the percentage, maybe a 75 to 80% of my energy now goes to that instead of the commercial work.
You mentioned one pays. I don't know. You said something like one pays to do it, and the other one. Um, does that also mean um, this new shift in effort? That's still not the end. It's not the end goal to make up for the money, is it? Or is it enough to go, like, for example, if you're making $10 on one side, on commercial side before, and now there's only $2 left, and you're putting 75-80% time here, are you making up for the other $9 by by pushing into film? I guess I'm wondering from a business point of view, from a production kind of business point of view,
Okay.
is that filling in that gap
From the-
from
from
commercial?
at the moment, because we are actually developing, it still need to be, it still needs to be watered. So it is still growing. So I can't really say that it will, as a in a business point of view, it will automatically change the what do you call that, the keuntungan, or the profits from the commercial work. But since there are not many commercial work at this point, we have to act and we have to do something, and everything, as in new business, it needs to grow from somewhere, like what you're doing now. It will start from something small, then
That's what I
hopefully it
was.
will,
That's what I was trying to establish. That's what I was trying to get at. And that's very clever. That's the right thing to do. And yes, you're right. That's kind of the reason why I do this as well. It's it's
Mhm.
if nothing's coming out on one side, don't just sit around hoping for things to change. Make you know move, start moving, try something
Yeah,
new. And in this case,
yeah.
you already had that skill set because of your the commercial background, and you're just shifting it into more a purity version of storytelling, whether it
Mhm.
is film, movies, things like that, TV, documentary, even podcasts. It's yeah, no, that it seems like more and more that's the thing that's happening in for people in our industry. Certainly, people who are not in a 9 to 5, like business owners like
Mm.
yourself, it tends to be the way we're doing it. And I guess it's more about that personal branding aspect of it, which is why there's more people who are doing things like coming on and having this kind of chat. I think it's very important. um, the the thing about governance that you mentioned, where, excuse me, you mentioned that in some cases even a government contract can say that you'd have to guarantee that you'd have to be okay with non-payment for up to 9 months, things like that. Is there nothing? Is there Are there no changes in the Indonesian horizon that can help during a slow economy time? I know Jakarta has been going through some, let's just say, uh, riots related to um, people who think that there's been misappropriation of funds during a time when there's not a lot of jobs
Mm.
around, not enough jobs around.
Mm. Mm.
As a community, as a production community, why since the 2000s, since the early 2000s, when people are not paying up front, why haven't you guys collectively done something about that?
We have, actually. We have, as a community, as a association. Um, there was there was an association for commercial film production that is called IFFI back in 2008 or 2009, I guess. And then the members try to do that as well, but it's somehow, I don't know, it's hard for them to follow through. I was still in an agency at that point. uh, it's hard for them to actually go into go into something uh, as a collective, because when it goes to the fact that, okay, you have to put food on the table, it's kind of hard. But that is actually the challenges that we face, that we need to be united. We need to be united in terms of our common goals, and that is what the new association is trying to do. IRPI is the Ikatan Rumah Produksi Komersial Indonesia, which is the association for commercial film production. And the only way that we learn from COVID is that it could really help all of us if the government are in on this. If the government can actually help us on this, it could really help us, because what we learned from COVID is like shooting days. Shooting hours. We were only able to do shoot until, I guess, 9 p.m., the maximum that we can do during COVID. And it worked. It worked. Before that, we have news from friends, or maybe some of us experience it personally, that our shoot goes into overtime until the next day, not even just 1 or 2 hours, or maybe even 7 a.m., 6 a.m., or maybe even 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. It happens for various of reasons. It's different for every project. But when the government said you can only work until 9 p.m. every shoot, 10 p.m. max, you need to go out of the set, and the set needs to be clean. It worked. The client listened, the agency listened, we listened. So the insight from that is we can actually do this with the government help. So I think the association now is trying to lobby and going up to the chain within the government, if we can actually do something about payments, do something about TOPs, and obviously do something about shooting hours, because it's also a problem within the creative film industry as well, within the feature film industry, shooting hours. That's why I've been trying to. I was a part of the association as well. I've been trying to actually talk about unionize, or getting together and actually look, if we want to fight this, we cannot fight it on our own. Obviously we need to fight it together, but then we need to be the same voice. And then, of course, we could only do it with government help. It could only be done at this point in time that we know of with governance, basically.
Governance is important. You're right.
Yes, yes.
You
I mean, like, look at Australia. I mean, Australia has what, 12 hours per shooting day,
sure.
if I'm not mistaken. New Zealand as well as, and like, it's really Europe as well. It's 12 hours. And I think now in Asia, Thailand is 12 hours, Vietnam is 15 hours. So we need to get that ball going. I mean, a lot of us love this industry because we love telling stories, we love making stories, we love crafting it. But then again, we do realize that there is a problem. Like, we need to scale down on all of those things that we couldn't decide on set. Or before that, we need to decide something before that, because that is why we have pre-production meetings.
Mm.
And just make it really efficient. And we could do that. I mean, for shooting with brand ambassadors, we know that their time is only 12 hours, and we could do that. So why don't we do that as well for normal shoots? you know
Mm. Yeah, no, it's very important. Speaking of on set, it kind of reminded me that one of the biggest differences between production companies and ad agencies is that in many ways, people in an ad agency are all employed by the agency. They're all under one roof. So if something happens to them, they're still protected by the group. Production companies aren't always the same. Production companies, you can have
mm,
a core team who are full time employees, but you rely on a lot of contractors, right? Whether it's
yes,
for
freelancers.
camera freelance, yeah, freelancers, right?
Mm,
Um, so as you've mentioned what's been happening as business owners part of the production industry. What happens to these unprotected? What is happening to these solo players who don't have the same kind of cover? Like in an ad agency, when things are down, yes, an ad agency can take
mhm,
measures. We can scale down. You can shrink. You can consolidate. Yes, those things happen. But in a production company,
mm.
I would guess at least 25% of the people on set are not full time employees of yours.
Yes,
Where
that's
do they
true. Even
go?
more, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just yeah. So I'm throwing in a
uh
what happens to them? Because, like I said, yeah, production company, the people like you, the business owners, you can take measures. People like agencies, they can take measures. But what's happening to these individual freelancers, contractors right now, who are not getting obviously as much jobs? If you're getting offered less jobs at 35% reduction, something's got to give, right?
Mm.
Nothing happens in a
Yes.
vacuum. What's happening with people like that in
Yeah.
production companies in Jakarta?
Well, a lot of them are actually have to some sort of another take up another jobs or another set of skills, or maybe go into a different industry. Like for example, a wardrobe stylist still can do photo shoots for magazines. They still can do for activation jobs that requires styling, and like DOP. A lot of them have to find something else to do. Like, but I'm quite glad that the film industry in Indonesia actually now is booming. So a lot of our crews is actually being absorbed within the film industry.
Okay.
But a lot of them, because there's a lot of us, but also a lot of them who couldn't get job in film industry, they must have something else to do. So either they cook, or either they open up some new business, or they learn new skills. They do whatever they can to actually put food on the table.
Do you,
That's the sad, yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I don't want to say it's a sad thing, but
it's the reality.
the market, it's the reality. Yes,
Do
market
you see
wise.
people coming back at all, or once they've made that move over the last couple of years, that feels like it's like, you know what, Shinta, um, I can't come back. Like, do you find yourself now going, hey, Agus, I need you on set next week, and you go, you know what, boo, I don't, I tried long enough. There's not enough of that. I prefer making mee goreng at my little warung. Like, do you find that you've lost people in the community?
Sometimes, yes. I mean, the good thing is if we lost them to the film industry, which mean is they are stepping up and they're doing well and they're doing projects and they're working for a long amount of time. So because movie shoots is about like maybe 30 days of shoot, or 29 days, or maybe even 45 days. It's a good thing, you know. But if they go into some other business and they're really successful, of course they won't go back. Because I know somebody who's actually moved from. I was introduced by him by my friend who's a director, and she reminded me that he was part of the camera department people, and now he's working as a vendor to the military. Because he used to go diving a lot. He knows a lot of people who goes diving, and now what he does is he supply the military or the Marines with diving equipments, and that obviously pays a lot more than being part of the camera
Yeah,
crew.
yeah. I
And
wasn't
you
suggesting that
know,
people who go on to better things should we should feel angry about that. No, absolutely. No, I guess in a way you answered it. It sounds like in the Jakarta production industry, those who've had to try new things have luckily fallen into a growing film market for the most part. So that's
yeah,
good. That's an
yeah.
interest. That's something
So
that's
that's
worth.
good.
I did not know that. So that's a good thing to realize, because sometimes, for people in the ad agency world, we kind of understand that production companies are almost like a part, like one doesn't exist with the other. In some ways, production companies a
Mm,
lot have existed and thrived and flourished because of the amount of experience they've got from ad agencies. And when that goes down to a trickle, you sometimes worry what happens to these really important people in the creative industry. But the fact that you have a great film industry, which I did not know, or rather a growing film industry, which I did not know, that's good. That's a nice way of kind of dealing with it. So that allows you to push for your other projects while the commercial stuff is kind of coming down, like you said, with you're planting the water. Sorry, you're feeding the water for this new thing,
for the plant to grow.
for the plant to
Yeah.
grow. No, that feels nice to hear. That's the one thing that I was thinking about when I think of production companies. What is happening to these people? Because again, I always realize like half these kids don't belong to one production company. They're day players in many ways, right? They're coming in
Yeah.
and they're
Yes.
just there for that
Yes.
project. What happens to them? I mean, it's part of their livelihood too. We've talked about Indonesia obviously is a bigger adoption of digital, and TikTok is obviously very important, blah blah. I've got something written down here, and I just want you to expand on it because I think you'll know what this is about. Because we had this conversation, but I think it's an important one that we get down. Clients are feeling fatigue about
Mm.
work. What did you
Mm-hmm.
mean by that? The
Uh,
context was in Jakarta. You're getting more and more. You're getting this sentiment from friends who are clients, agency people, and this common theme is coming out in Jakarta. Could you talk a little bit about fatigue?
yes. Digital fatigue, to be specific. Yes. I just had a I just had a dinner meetup with this agency person, and he was saying that the thing that clients and agencies are doing now and has been doing since I guess 2017 or 2015 is not working as well as it used to be. I mean, people are growing fatigue with digital fatigue, with how fast things are moving in digital ad. We are fast because the demand is there, because the demand is fast, right? Because we scroll through social media really fast. Like, the culture has shifted from the way it was 20, 25 years ago. But then we're seeing now it's slowly that even Gen Z are getting tired of looking at the screens for too long. And some of them, there's a growing number, maybe in the US, I don't know about Australia, are starting to adapt to dumb phones. They don't want to be connected as much as they do, because there's so many research and data that shows that a lot of people are getting stressed out because of being connected all the time. And we start to see this trickle downs in terms of marketing and the way people feels. And maybe not as much that at this time it could change something, but it started the ball rolling, I think, for people within the agency to go, okay, should we go back to the way things are, or
What does
maybe
that mean?
what should we do
What is
now?
going back to the way things are? What does that mean?
Okay. uh about marketing communication, there used to be, when I was an agency, I remember when we pitched, there used to be a yearly plan about what we want to do with the brand. Right now it's a quarterly plan, and it has been like that since, I don't know, maybe 5 years or 7 years, maybe 5 years, I guess. So there's no more there's a lot more tactical ads rather than thematics. We see a lot more hard sell now, rather than something that is soft selling. And at some point, we are okay with that. And I think at some point, as it's a cycle, everything is a cycle, and people will get tired of that eventually. And now we're starting to look maybe more into, uh, again, with storytelling or soft selling, or something that created a purpose within the brand. And to communicate it clearly, you need something more than just a 15-second ads. You need like a really good plan, how you want to do this in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and so on and so forth. And
There's no one reason why we we do what you've mentioned, but I would say though, I think you mentioned it at the beginning of the call that nowadays you pitch for projects and not retainers. I think
yes.
what I'm trying to say to you, Shinta, is how would we ever go back to planning long term if we're only pitching for projects?
Yes, that's the thing that we yet to see. I don't know. I don't have the answer
No,
to that as
but you know
well.
what I
But
mean, right? Like
but
we've created
yes,
such
I do know.
fragmentation. It's the reason why it happens is because we don't we're not emotionally attached to our clients either now, because they we at agencies stopped going for $100 client for a year. They're going for $10 client per month, right? Because
Right.
you still have to do that. But the thing is, now I've got a $10 client. I can invest the same kind of time as I would for a $100 client for a year. How would we plan long term? I'm not saying you have
I
the solution.
Yeah,
I'm saying I wonder, because you said it's a cycle. We're going to go back. How do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know, but I do know it's a cycle, that I know that people are getting tired of it, and there will be some new evolution of this that we will create organically from this time that we are doing now, that we will learn eventually how to go about this. So it is a cycle, I think, and there is this. I think nostalgia has a really big part of it as well, because I do know a certain client, a really big client, are starting to move away from their formula and started to look into a deeper insight and a deeper local insight, and start to adapt their ads with local insight and storylines and things like that, which is a change which I only heard about since the beginning of 2024. They never done this. They used to do this during the 2000s and early 2011 and the teens, and they started with the formula because it's going well for them. But now they started changing the formula, and they started to be really really brave, and started to think about, okay, let's go into the it's local insight. I guess it's also because of the situation, because of the economy, and because of the way things are. It's a perfect storm for them to actually have to shift some way to actually bring their brand up.
Yeah, I I think all brands are missing it. Um, you mentioned digital fatigue. I mean, I think you also mentioned that when we talked earlier about um, the the investment made in influencers are no longer paying off.
Yes.
They're not paying off now, right? That's part of that digital
Yeah.
fatigue. Like, what are we doing wrong? It's not about doing anything. Well, we can always do things better, but I think it's also because um, there are too many options for everybody. Like you
Yes.
said, TikTok. Like, if you don't catch me
Yeah.
in a second, you're gone. Now that could have been someone's 1 month of work. And when you
Yeah.
think about it that way, you go, how much am I willing to invest in that person's 1 month worth of work? What am I worth that 1 second where it goes off? I think in markets like Oz and New Zealand and the US, and let's say the UK. I don't know much about the other European countries, but if culturally we gather together to watch something together, like I'll give you an example. Like in Indonesia, I know football is obviously a very big thing. People do go to the stadiums, which is fantastic. You go participate and you support your team. Um, but there's also culture where you sit at home and you watch rugby with all your friends at a pub or something like that.
Mm.
That still gives that opportunity to see ads. But you go to the stadium and you're still on your TikTok. You're still
Yeah.
looking at ads that way. I'm trying to figure out how do you make how can a cultural shift happen so significantly that we go back to long form storytelling. um,
I tell you, I tell you what. I think you mentioned something very important. You mentioned too many options. That's what I feel too. I mean, the analogy that I can give you best is, if you went to a restaurant and you see so many in the menu, you wouldn't know what to choose.
yeah, I
But
hate
then if
that.
you go to a restaurant that is specialized with five menus and four drinks, and you will immediately within 30 seconds you'll go, I'll have that. So it's all just with too many options, then it's all become noise, isn't it?
Okay, and
And it's when it's
I'm gonna.
noise.
I love your analogy. I'm gonna add to your analogy. The restaurant
Yeah.
where you have four options and four drinks, and the restaurant which has 25 options and 25 drinks, the chances are the four food place is more expensive because they know what they're doing. Not
Yeah.
everybody, not everybody
Not
wants to pay that much for the. Do you know what I mean? Do you
okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Well, not necessarily
You're
expensive. It
right. You're
doesn't
right.
have to
Not
be
necessarily.
expensive.
You're right. Not
Yeah.
necessarily. But there is a direct correlation with confident restaurant slash brands who offer something limited versus someone who does everything. There is a correlation between cost and like the quality and the
Yes.
cost. There is.
Yes. Yes. There is. So we know if we want to really get good products, we go to a certain place that they are known for. You
Yep.
know, but
We're just keeping up with the
for
Joneses, as
for
the
for
saying
for a
goes.
consumer, yes, for a consumer though, for me myself, if you're being given like 100 options to choose from, you can't really make up your mind. I mean, it takes you a long time, and then you'll be like, you don't know what it's. Is it an ad, or is it something they sponsored, or do I want to get that? It so for me it's become noises. It doesn't really do much for me. But I don't know whether a lot of people are feeling this as well, but when it's too much of something, you kind of feel it, don't you? You kind of like,
Get the F. Culturally, we need to get people to participate together in something. Right now, everyone is doing their own thing, and that's going to be just very very hard. And yeah, it affects creative, it affects storytelling. Luckily, it sounds like you've got a great TV industry, uh, sorry, like a film industry, and
film industry.
hope that really gets into some interesting areas. Because yeah, look, at the end of the day,
Thank
I
you.
assume a person
Hopefully.
who comes from an agency background, who's gone into production, that's someone who really cares and values storytelling and creativity. And it's hard. I talk to a
Thank
lot
you.
of people. It's very very tough. I mean, I see your husband's weird painting behind you. Keeping your creativity alive in any way you can is it's very important if that is your passion. And yeah, look, thank you very much. I really appreciate what people like you are doing, and you have to let the thing you mentioned about starting this new association and making these changes from a governance point of view, that's that's your north star. Besides, planting the seed and all the rest and watering the plant, that's very very important. That's part of the future for production, I think.
Yes, I hope so too. And I want to thank you too for inviting me to this. I think it's really great that you're starting this out, and I hope it's educated a lot of people about our industry. I mean, I think everyone who has been in the industry is really knows about the love and hate relationship with it, and we really love it. At one point, we're really passionate about it, of course, but at some point also there are times that we hate it. But I mean, that's the way it is, and that's why we're here. That's why we talk, and I think still being connected with your friends and talking and sharing is really important as well. And thank you a lot for inviting me on this
No worries, no worries.
7 ideas.
Talking is important, or else uh, yeah, I'll say goodbye by saying one thing, which is the the biggest uh, um, the biggest, what's the word, the it's not a problem, weakness. The biggest weakness
Hmm.
of creative people is that they care.
Yeah, but then with that comes really good stuff as well.
Sure, but what I'm saying is that is why you want to spend that extra time. You want to make the extra effort, right?
Yeah.
And it's when you lose that, it's tough. And when you talk and we share and we build a community this way, that goes a long way. And we need to keep doing it.
Mm,
All right,
mm.
Shinta.
True. Agree. All right. Thanks a lot, Z, for your time.
See ya. Take care.
Bye. See ya. Take care.